Superhuman. And we're going to talk about how we actually have all kinds of extraordinary capabilities that we currently believe collectively to be impossible. But in fact, there are a number of people who are uh, evidencing developing these abilities. It's very, very, very fascinating and exciting to me. And I hope it will be to you. Good morning, Rosalind. Welcome. So good to have you here this morning. And welcome to everybody else who's joining us. Before we get talking about being superhuman, let's just take a few minutes to get present. And let's take a deep breath in through your nose and hold it. And imagine clean, crisp oxygen flooding your lungs, flowing into your bloodstream, energizing, elevating, electrifying, oxygenating all your cells, all your organs, bringing vital life energy to your body and being. And as you exhale any tension, stress, negativity, fatigue. And now let's take another deep breath in through your nose and hold it. This time, imagine brilliant, bright light, lighting you up from the inside out, illuminating, electrifying, and energizing all your cells, your molecules, your electrons, creating a brilliant beam of light and energy from your heart out into the world. And as you exhale any remaining tension, stress, negativity, fatigue. And now let's press our palms together. Vigorously rub your hands together to feel the friction, the temperature, the energy, the motion, and the tickling and tingling when you stop, all that buzzing sensation. And allow all these sensations to bring you present right here, right now, into this remarkable physical form that enables you to experience life. Welcome, welcome, welcome. So this is kind of the most exciting conversation that I like to have, which is about our capabilities and how so much more is possible than we believe to be possible. And I watched a couple things happened. I watched a movie yesterday, which I cannot recommend strongly enough. It's available on YouTube. It's called Superhuman, I believe, Making the Invisible Visible. It's not the Superhuman series that's on Gaia. It's actually available on YouTube. And I believe the subtitle is Making the Invisible Visible. And it talks about the nature of reality and that everything is energy. And the remarkable, like extraordinary demonstrations throughout the film of these capabilities that we have that mostly lie latent and or dormant and undeveloped. But for example, and this is just, I'm so excited by this. There was a lot of footage about these kids who are being taught, not just kids, but mostly kids, it seems, being taught to be able to see without their eyes. And so that might sound really crazy, but these kids are blindfolded with this heavy duty blindfold. And then they read, or then they go play sports. And then there were also examples of adults that were taught how to do this as well. And there was an example of going to the supermarket and picking products that the facilitator was saying, okay, find this product. And then the person with this heavy duty blindfold, total blackness, went and picked out that product just with the same alacrity as a sighted person, a person seeing through their eyes. And then there was an example of an older woman who has an unusual degenerative condition of her eyes, such that her vision, she was losing her vision. And they taught her, and she's now able to read without relying upon the acuity of her physical vision. So this is remarkable, extraordinary, and something that is accessible to all of us, at least theoretically, because it's a training of consciousness, a training of the mind, a training of consciousness. So apparently there's a place in Utah that teaches some of this stuff. And it's just tremendously exciting to me. They also talked about remote viewing. And I've known about remote viewing for years and years and years. What it is projecting your consciousness to another location to be able to pick up the impressions of what's happening in that location. And in fact, our government had a whole program called the Shaman Spies. The CIA had this program where people were using remote viewing to spy on other governments. And interestingly, there was a clip that included Jimmy Carter. It had to do with some kind of secret development or development of secret weapon kind of things. And the remote viewers were able to show that these missiles could be found wherever they would be. And it, I know it impacted the continuation of the program. Remarkable stuff. So then there was also illustration of people using their mind to affect the movement of objects. And so there would be this light object suspended, light in weight, suspended within a bell jar so that there was no air current that could impact it, so that there was no, it was a contained environment. And then the people that were doing the demonstration just put their attention, and the object started to move. And one person had this object spinning, rotating multiple times, which apparently was quite unusual. They had an actor, I forget her name, who they plugged into a device that created visuals of emotions as well as sounds. And so they had her move from one emotion to another, from stress to relaxation, and it changed the impulse on this device very, very, very quickly, which made, well, she was very adept at those kinds of shifts to be able to change her state in a very fluid way. However, it's validation to our already knowing that we can pick up the emotions of other people. So it was validation that the energy field is literally different, that the electrical or energetic emanations in one mood or another are literally very different. And she said, which I thought was really insightful and pretty awesome, she said, no wonder when things are going well, they're going really, really well. And when they're not, because there's this intense energetic field that I'm emanating. And so it's pretty fascinating to recognize that we have these capabilities. And it makes me think of I guess it was the 4-minute mile, 3-minute mile. I'm not a runner, so I'm not super tuned into that. But once that world record was broken, it was thought to be an impossibility. And once that record was broken, people kept breaking the record. And what I believe about these quote unquote superhuman capabilities is that the more we recognize that it's doable, the more of us will do it. And I wonder what this means for our evolution, what's possible for us in our evolution as a result of cultivating these capabilities. Because in interviewing the kids, they were talking about everything is energy and we're connected to everything. So, of course, we can tap into that. Of course, we can perceive that on an energetic level through our consciousness. So, in addition to seeing that movie, I also watched a wonderful interview with, oh my gosh, I just had his name, Aubrey Marcus, and oh my, his last name is DeStefano. I'll think of it. And he, from the age of about 11, and this is very interesting, has full recall of his past lives and understanding of how the universe works in a multitude of different ways. And Aubrey Marcus in the podcast said, that he was quite skeptical of the truth of this. But after speaking at length with him, it became much, much, much more feasible to be truth, or like that it felt true. It felt credible. So what DeStefano, I can't believe I'm not remembering his name at the moment. Anyway, what he said was that from the time he was a child, he had guides, and he did not have a father. And his guides were telling him from a very young age that he is nature, that he is the trees, that he is the rocks, that he is the water, that he is the universe, not that it's separate from him. And what he said, which was so beautiful, was that as a result of that indoctrination, where he wasn't raised into a religion, he wasn't raised into any particular dogma, that because of that, he was able to be fully immersed in what he was receiving in guidance. And from the time he was a child, apparently, he recounted a couple instances where he had gotten really angry and storms were manifested, rain and storms and weather kinds of extremes. And he gained a reputation as the I want to say the Rain Man, but for being able to create changes of weather. And if we think about it, in many indigenous traditions, this is not unheard of. Good morning, Robin. Welcome. So good to have you here with us. We're talking about superhuman, being superhuman, and the reality of it, like that this is actually more true to our nature, to be able to be expressing these what we currently consider extraordinary capabilities. So Rosalind says there's an exercise looking at the candle flame. Close your eyes and try to see the flame with your eyes closed. Exactly. There's a film currently. Thank you for that, Rosalind. There's a film currently on Netflix. It's a short film talking about the remarkable story of and I forget the guy's name, but it's a story about how this guy just cultivated this capability to see without his eyes by training himself to see the candle flame, and he became very adept at it. And I want to go back to the I lost my train of thought here. Oh, one of the things that many of us may be familiar with is the ability to astral travel, to get out of our bodies. We've heard of near-death experiences where people have recounted what's happening in an operating room, or recounted visiting with relatives that were long dead, or children who have recounted previous lives. And that has been where the facts have been verifiable. So this has always fascinated me, to be able to reach into these other capabilities that we have. What would be different? So one of the other things that DeStefano was saying was, because he has memory of past lives. He was talking about Atlantis, and he was talking about how there's no big machinery from even the building of the pyramids, that this all emerged through consciousness, that by focusing consciousness, they were able to manipulate the physical environment, and that the physical becomes less physical and more energetic, and that there are certain states of mind or consciousness that we can enter, that we can access, that allow us a whole different relationship with the world. And to be able to communicate with animals, with plant life, with the mineral life, if we want to call it, we don't acknowledge mineral life as life, but if we talk typically, but if we talk to the mineral spirits, if the rock people, the plant people, the sky people, it's very, very exciting to me to recognize that these things are accessible to us, that it takes relieving ourselves of the beliefs that are constraining us to the limits of this quote unquote reality, because we have been taught that these things aren't possible. And interestingly enough, the prison of our mind is more powerful than any gated prison. could possibly be. So we keep ourselves limited, we keep ourselves shackled by the beliefs of who we are and what we're capable of. And Dr. Joe Dispenza is another one who is really, really pushing the limits in a beautiful way by training people in deep meditation, where they can access these other dimensions of being and create remarkable healing of sometimes terminal conditions or degenerative conditions by accessing different dimensions of consciousness. And so it throws a whole different spin on what we're doing here and what this is all about. And if we have these capabilities, if we really can free ourselves from these limiting beliefs that hold us bound to a very purely physical and low level vibration existence. So Rosalind says, speaking of minerals, my friend Carolina programmed a crystal to keep the ground squirrels away from her front yard so they don't dig holes in her yard. Is it working, Rosalind? That's such a pretty interesting, that's a really fascinating idea, actually. And I love that idea because I've had an issue with mice. And it occurs to me that maybe I could be asking the crystals for help. I know another shaman healer who says that crystals do change over time. They keep evolving depending on the environment that they're in. Just because they're out of the ground doesn't mean that they don't continue to change. And I thought that was really interesting because we tend to think about minerals and crystals as static, which is interesting because they've evolved over just a much, much, much longer time frame. Isn't that the case? You know, that they just have a very different timeline, certainly, than we can relate to directly. So Rosalind says, yes, they haven't come back, but they're starting to come on the side yard. But she's thinking she needs to put another program crystal on the side yard. Sounds like a plan. That's so awesome. That's so awesome. And really programming the crystals is us communicating with them, making a request of a certain frequency. And if we think of thoughts as things, if we think of thoughts as a specific energetic emanation of frequency, we can recognize the importance of curating our thoughts. We can recognize the importance of maintaining our energy and not allowing ourselves to sink into a prolonged period of darkness. I'm not saying that to bypass. That's why the word prolonged. You know, I think we flow in and out of things, and curating our energy is essential for creating the world we want to create. And in these times, it becomes even more critical that we curate our energy, as there's so much to be as there's so much that challenges our ability to maintain the light and believe in the light with the atrocities happening around the world and the difficulties and the sadnesses that people endure, it becomes ever that much more important for us to elevate ourselves, that we may elevate others, and that we may elevate the energy around the globe. Because this is a fact that our energy impacts the greater field, that we're all part of this greater field, and that time and distance is not a limiter. That was something else. And if you didn't hear the name of this film that I really recommend you go find on YouTube, it's called Superhuman, Making the Invisible Visible. And it is so tremendously powerful to recognize our power to influence our environment just by our being, just by the frequency at which we vibrate, and also the power of our beliefs to limit us, which is one of the reasons that we talk about being willing to forget who we are so that we can actually be who we came here to be, and forget who we are, meaning who we believe ourselves to be, meaning our limiting beliefs and ideas. That as we release ourselves from those shackles of the limitations that we have come to believe are true, then we unleash capabilities that take living into an entirely different dimension. And this is an expansion of consciousness that this planet is calling for from us now more than ever. And we have the ability, we have the capacity. We just need to expand into it. We need to grow into those expansions. We need to allow ourselves to evolve into our capacity. So that's it for this morning. I hope you enjoy that. Tomorrow's Thanksgiving, and I look forward to looking for gratitude tomorrow together, collectively celebrating gratitude. And I'm Mira Rubin. This is the Core Connection. And I go live here each weekday morning on the Enlightened World Network Facebook page and YouTube channel. And I invite you to check out the other really awesome programming on Enlightened World Network and Enlightened World Living. And as always, it is such a privilege and pleasure to have the opportunity to share musings, insights, curiosities, confusions, and beyond with you each morning. So until next time.